In the heart of New York City, the sun filtered through the skyscrapers, casting long shadows over the bustling streets. For Ava, a spirited 17-year-old, this day began like any other. She strolled home from the library, her headphones in but silence playing through them, a trick her father taught her to remain inconspicuous while staying alert. The city hummed with life around her, but something felt off. As she rounded the corner of 5th and Pine, she caught sight of him, a man in black, casually leaning against the entrance of a cafe, phone in hand. At first, it seemed innocent enough, but as she crossed the street, her instincts kicked in. He moved with her, his gaze flickering toward her when he thought she wasn't looking. Ava's heart raced, but she kept her expression neutral. Years of training from her father, a former intelligence officer, taught her how to mask fear. By the time she reached the corner deli, Ava was certain he was following her. Instead of panicking, she ducked inside, letting the doorbell chime behind her. The aroma of fresh bread filled the air as she pretended to browse the sandwich counter. Through the glass display, she caught sight of the man lingering outside, his face partially hidden by dark sunglasses. Amateur, she thought, though her pulse quickened. Real professionals were like ghosts, slipping in and out of sight without drawing attention. This man was clearly inexperienced at best or deliberately trying to intimidate her at worst. After grabbing a bottle of water and paying, Ava stepped back into the sunlight, her mind racing. A car window across the street provided a clear view. He was still following her, keeping his distance but not enough to fool her. Deciding to test him, Ava turned abruptly and headed into a nearby department store. The bustling crowds inside provided numerous escape routes, and she weaved through the aisles, pretending to inspect a scarf display. After 10 minutes, she ducked behind a mannequin and waited. Sure enough, the man in black entered, scanning the store with an agitated look on his face. Her instincts screamed at her to flee, but curiosity kept her rooted in place. Who was this man? Why was he following her? More importantly, what did he want? Instead of running, she decided to flip the script. Ava exited through the side door of the department store and slipped into a narrow alley. Moments later, the man appeared at the entrance, his silhouette framed by the streetlight. He hesitated, glancing both ways. This was her chance. Ava stepped into the open, her voice calm but firm. Why are you following me? He froze for a moment, surprise flickering across his face, but then a smirk appeared. I think you're mistaken. I wasn't following you. Ava crossed her arms, narrowing her eyes. Really? Because you've been behind me for 3 blocks. You're not very good at this, are you? The smirk faded, replaced by something icy. Go home, kid. You don't want to get involved. Too late, Ava retorted, her heart pounding. She felt the weight of her phone in her pocket, her finger brushing against the emergency dial button. I'm already involved. Who are you, and what do you want from me? For a moment, he didn't answer. His jaw tightened, and his hand twitched toward his jacket pocket. Ava took a step back, her muscles tensing, but instead of a weapon, he produced a small, sleek device. He tapped it once, and a faint buzz filled the air. Ava's phone screen flickered, the emergency dial disappearing. Listen, he said, his voice low and urgent. You're in over your head. I'm not the one you should be afraid of. Then who should I be afraid of? Ava demanded, her voice trembling despite her best efforts to remain calm. The man's demeanor had shifted, it was no longer cold but almost protective. People who don't care whether you live or die, he replied, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to appear. They'll come after you for something you don't even know you have. Ava's breath hitched. What are you talking about? What do I have? He shook his head. I don't have time to explain. Just stay out of sight and don't trust anyone. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, his black coat billowing behind him. Ava stood frozen in the alley, her mind racing. Who was he? What was he trying to warn her about? And most importantly, what had she just gotten herself into? As the distant sounds of the city returned to her ears, Ava clenched her fists. She wouldn't let someone dictate her life. If he thought he could scare her into hiding, he was mistaken. She wasn't running, not yet, until she had answers. The next morning, Ava sat at her desk, staring out the window at the quiet street below. The events of the previous day replayed in her mind, sharpening her resolve. She didn't know who the man in black was, but she wouldn't let him keep her in the dark. If he wanted to follow her, fine. She'd lead him exactly where she wanted him to go. Pulling a map of the city from her drawer, Ava planned her route through familiar places, crowded locations where she could observe him without being exposed. Her destination was an abandoned alley behind a small bookstore, a perfect spot to corner him. After checking her backpack for essentials, a flashlight, her still glitching phone, and a small canister of pepper spray, Ava stepped out of the house. The sun was high, casting a warm glow over the city. Adjusting the straps of her backpack, she set off, her nerves tingling with anticipation. It didn't take long for her to spot him. As she exited a coffee shop, the man in black stood across the street, partially concealed by a bus stop shelter. His casual posture belied his watchful eyes. "You're making this too easy," Ava thought, suppressing a smirk as she began walking, maintaining a steady pace. She led him through the outdoor market, weaving between vendors and shoppers. Occasionally, she stopped to inspect items, using her reflection to keep an eye on him. Next, she entered a library with tall, dusty shelves that offered natural hiding spots. Ava lingered, running her fingers along the spines of books while watching him try to maintain sight. After leaving the library, she took deliberate turns through quieter parts of town, confirming he was still behind her. By the time she reached the bookstore, her heart raced, not from fear, but from the thrill of control. The bookstore was old and dimly lit, with narrow aisles packed tightly with books. The shopkeeper barely looked up as Ava entered. "Back in a minute," she said softly, slipping through the store and into the alley behind it. As she positioned herself at the far end, waiting for him to take the bait, the door creaked open. The man in black stepped into the alley, cautiously surveying the space. His dark coat billowed slightly in the breeze. "You're persistent," Ava said, her voice steady despite the knot in her chest. "I could say the same about you," he replied, his tone calm but edged with curiosity. "You've been leading me on quite the chase. Why are you following me?" For a moment, he was silent, tension filling the air. Then he stepped forward. "It's not safe for you. You've drawn the attention of people who don't play fair." Ava's jaw tightened. "You keep saying that, but you're not telling me who these people are or what they want." "I don't have all the answers," he admitted, surprising her with his honesty. "But I know they're watching you, and if I don't, someone worse will." "Why are they watching me?" Ava pressed. He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder as if sensing danger. "I don't have time to explain. Just know that whatever you're caught up in is bigger than you think." Before Ava could respond, footsteps echoed from the far end of the alley. Both she and the man in black turned sharply, their bodies tensing. A figure stepped into view, another man in dark clothes, more imposing, with a mocking smile. "Looks like I found you first," he taunted. The man in black shifted, positioning himself between Ava and the newcomer. "You shouldn't be here." The second man ignored him, his eyes fixed on Ava. "You've been causing quite a stir. Didn't think a kid like you would be so hard to catch." Ava's heart raced. The newcomer wasn't here for the man in black, he was here for her. "Stay back," the man in black warned, his voice sharp. "What are you going to do, hero?" "You're outnumbered," the newcomer sneered. Ava's breath caught in her throat as the man in black murmured, "Run." But she didn't move. "I'm not running anymore," she declared defiantly. The alley felt alive with tension. No one was going to decide her fate. "No one's doing anything," she shouted, stepping out from behind the man in black. "Not until someone tells me what's going on." Both men froze, their eyes snapping to her. The newcomer raised an eyebrow, amusement flickering across his face. "Feisty, huh? I like that." "Stay back," the man in black warned again. "You keep saying that, but you're not giving me anything concrete," Ava shot back. "Start talking or I'll call the police." The newcomer chuckled darkly. "Sweetheart, the police won't help you. They don't even know what's going on." "Shut up," the man in black snapped, his tone cold. "You're making this worse." The second man shrugged. "She's got a right to know, doesn't she? After all, she's the one holding the prize." Ava's brow furrowed. "What prize?" "I don't have anything." "Not yet," he replied, his smirk widening. "But you will. And when you do, it'll be worth more than you can imagine. Too bad you'll never live long enough to use it." Ava's stomach twisted at his words, but she forced herself to stay calm. "You've said enough," the man in black said, his voice laced with fury. "Leave now." The second man's smirk faltered for a moment. "Fine. I'll go for now. But don't get too comfortable, kid. I'll be seeing you soon." With that, he turned and disappeared around the corner, leaving a heavy silence in his wake. Ava stared after him, her heart racing. "You shouldn't have stepped out like that," the man in black said, his tone stern but with a hint of concern. "What was I supposed to do? Stand there and let you two argue about my life?" she snapped. "I was handling it." "Yeah, looked like you were doing a great job," he said sarcastically. "You want to tell me what he meant about a prize?" The man sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "It's complicated." "Try me," Ava said, folding her arms. He hesitated, his eyes scanning the alley. Finally, he spoke, his voice low. "Your father isn't who you think he is." Ava's heart skipped a beat. "What are you talking about?" "He used to work for an organization, a very dangerous one. When he left, he took something with him. Something they've been trying to get back ever since." Ava shook her head, disbelief washing over her. "That doesn't make any sense. My dad's just my dad." The man interrupted gently. "Look, I don't know all the details, but whatever he took is connected to you. That's why they're after you." Ava's breath caught. "Why me?" "I don't know," he admitted. "But I've been trying to keep you safe while I figure it out." "Why do you care?" Ava demanded. The man hesitated, his jaw tightening. "Let's just say I owe your father, and I keep my promises." Ava stared at him, her mind spinning. Everything he said felt like something out of a spy novel, but the urgency in his eyes told her he was serious. "What do we do now?" she asked quietly. "Now we get you somewhere safe, and then we find out who else is watching." For the first time, Ava felt a flicker of hope. She still didn't trust him completely, but he was her best chance for answers. As they left the alley together, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that her life had changed forever. Whatever lay ahead would test her in ways she couldn't yet imagine.